Welcome, Casa friends and family, to this special evening of appreciation for all of your enduring support. It is our hope that tonight's program will demonstrate how, together with you, Georgia Casa strengthens and supports a well-established, robust network of local Casa affiliates who, in turn, empower volunteers to advocate for thousands of children and their families. Georgia Casa's small but mighty team provides training, resources, funding, legislative advocacy, and awareness for and on behalf of its 45 affiliates, 270 staff, 500 board members, and nearly 3,000 volunteers. Tonight, we are proud to provide you with a front row seat to what good, true, and intentional CASA advocacy in Georgia looks like. We can't thank you enough for supporting the unique role that Georgia CASA plays in the availability of CASA volunteers and the advocacy that happens at both the local and state levels. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Dawn Charleston Green, and tonight I'll be serving as your host and mistress of ceremony. But aside from being tonight's MC, I'm proud to say that I have formerly been a CASA volunteer. I worked on CASA staff as an advocacy coordinator. I served as CASA director in the Augusta Judicial Circuit, as well as served on Georgia CASA's executive board as Council of Programs representative. But most proudly, I adopted a child. So I think it goes without saying, I'm personally aware of how lives and stories are changed for thousands of children each year because of their connection with a CASA volunteer. So this evening, sit back, and I would say relax, but I do want you to yield us your attention and let us take you on a journey across the state through the stories of our volunteers, children and youth in foster care, leaders, and most specifically you, our donors. Over the next 45 minutes, please join in the chat and share with us your involvement and connection to the 30 plus years of CASA advocacy in Georgia. To kick us off, I am pleased to introduce Mandira Mahera, Georgia CASA's board chair. Mandira.
Being a champion for CASA. As you may have seen in the opening photos, there are so many supporters who've made the reality of CASA advocacy possible over the years. Tonight, we appreciate each of you for your role and support. My involvement with CASA began 5 years ago, and I continue to be inspired by and proud to be a part of this organization and the way in which our values, collaboration, compassion, and accountability are demonstrated every day. We have never taken for granted that our work is possible because of you, our supporters, and tonight is no different. We express our heartfelt appreciation for the sponsors of tonight's event who've been by our side for so many years and in so many ways. Thank you to our friends at Winshea Poems, Georgia Power, Junior League of Atlanta, Care Solutions, and the Atlanta Alumni Chapter of Kappa Alpha Theta. I, along with the members of the Georgia CASA board, am so profoundly humbled by the thousands of CASA volunteers who routinely answer the call to stand beside a child, knowing everything they will come to learn will be forever etched in their own hearts. Today, CASA advocacy is available to children and judges in 156 of Georgia's 159 counties. By this time next year, we expect there to be a CASA program in every county in Georgia. With a network of 45 affiliates, 250 state and local staff, and 500 state and local board members, we use our collective voice and passion to raise awareness and generate positive change. We are fortunate to have strong leaders who create a space to come together to use our talents and time to make Georgia more connected and centered on families and children. Thank you for your involvement, guidance, and ongoing support.
Thank you, Mandira, and to each and every board member who continues to expand and evolve the work of Georgia CASA. Because of donors like you, we continue to fill a gap so that children and youth who must experience foster care have a trusted, committed, and consistent adult advocate, a CASA volunteer, by their side. Tonight, we will introduce several individuals who through their lived experiences demonstrate how caring and supportive relationships shape all of our lives. There are many different roads that lead to becoming a Casa volunteer. For Atlanta Casa volunteer Dr. Felicia Tillman, her path was full circle from victim to victor. Here as she shares.
So I'm going to take a trip down memory lane. I've had this photo album. I grew up in foster care, and I do know what it's like to be nervous in court, and there's a judge, and there are lawyers, and lots of big grown people, and sometimes you're the only child in there. Just to know that I'm here with you, I didn't have that. I don't have a lot of pictures of my childhood just because I have gone from place to place. My name is Dr. Felicia Tillman, and I have been with Fulton County Casa as a volunteer for 4 years. See me and my sister dancing, one glimmer of happiness, which that's what my name means, is happiness. We were born to a mother and father who both experienced severe mental health issues. We were neglected, and so we ended up in foster care. Somehow I remember going to court, not really understanding the conversations. And then the next memory that I have is going to an airport and being told that we were going to a new family. I'm looking at Easter in front of the house that I call my place of pain. I was beaten. I was harshly beaten, and that began my time in foster care. So we're here at the house, and you can see the burglar bars on the windows. Just looking at my bedroom elicits sad memories. I ended up being homeless, and I see this look on my face of anger and rebellion. I was assigned a case of a teenage girl, and she had been in and out of the foster care system, and I think I could relate a lot to her. She just didn't trust a lot of people. The foundation is building trust and then becoming their voice. When I look into these children's faces, I say, I am being who I needed. Maybe you didn't have that, but you're gonna be that for these children. And that's why this is the best job in the world for me, is being a Casa. Sometimes I thought I wasn't gonna make it through, and I'm back from victim to victor. That's how I feel right now.
Thank you, Dr. Tillman, for your truth, your transparency, and for your service to young people, like the ones we're about to hear from. Next, we would like to introduce you to two young women, both of whom were in foster care and sat down recently with our executive director, Jen King. First, meet Shemaine, who was in foster care during her critical teenage years in Albany, Georgia. Hear Jen and Shemaine's conversation.
Shemaine, we've known each other for a few years, and today we are celebrating a major life accomplishment that I'll hope you'll share with us.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to share what it is?
Yes, so I graduated last Saturday with my associates in sociology from Albany State University.
Yay! So, Shemaine, I think only you know what it took to accomplish all of that goal that you had for yourself, and I hope that you are full of possibilities and hope for the future.
Yes,
I really appreciate you being here. I know one of the things that you're really passionate about is that people understanding adolescent brain development. So can you share what role Casa played in your own development, particularly at this critical stage of your life?
So funny thing is, my Casa, she watched me virtually graduate and whatnot. She sent me gifts. Me and both of my Casas are extremely still close to this day, and I'm 23 now. But I can say my Casas are like my mom. So they definitely helped me. They molded me into the young individual I am today. But they also made sure that I remember that it's okay to, like when I was younger, when I was like 16, 17, they made sure that I knew like it's okay to make these mistakes. It's normal, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of people didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like the caseworkers, the staff at the placements and whatnot, they made me feel like something was wrong with me. You know what I'm saying? They kept putting all this medicine and all these other things like that. So my classes really made me feel normal in a huge sense. You know what I'm saying? Even when we did things off campus, it was more like a breath of fresh air, to be honest. With me graduating, you know, everybody just, so happy because it really has been a long road, very difficult. It's not a normal average road. And what I mean when I say that is coming up in the foster care system, it institutionalizes you to a state that only you know and that you can only identify as you get older. I've never actually stayed on a college campus ever. I've never was involved in any campus activity because I was so used to being in placements, you know, just kind of being in your own space, controlling everything at your own pace. So now that I've graduated and I am returning back in the fall to receive my bachelor's at Albany State University in sociology also, I still do not want to walk. I still do not want to stay on campus. And that is something that I am really dealing with my CASAs. We just had a conversation the other day about that. But once again, it's definitely a journey. But I'm very grateful and humble to still have my CASAs on my side from when I was in high school, my freshman year, to all the way to now I am a college graduate. So it's definitely been a journey, the blood, sweat, and tears. And I mean blood because these paper cuts, you know, yeah, they bleed. Yeah, it was serious. So yeah, I'm just very grateful. One thing that I don't like though is a lot of my peers graduated college and they really didn't have that much support from their people in foster care. They didn't have like a CASA or anything like that. And I always like remember when I spoke at the CASA conference like 2.5, 3 years ago. And one thing that I was real big on is like, I wish everyone could have a CASA because CASAs are not your caseworkers. You know what I'm saying? They actually get down to the nitty gritty and things of that nature. So it's just, yeah.
So Shamin, I've heard you talk about your experience before and have really shared that your CASAs have been real with you, right? They've told you how it is, and that there are so many life skills that you have now that have come out of all of those close conversations that you had, both when you were in foster care and now even as an adult. But, you know, we're so proud of the accomplishments that you've made and are only going to continue to watch you succeed more. I wondered if you would just share a little bit that you had maintained relationships with your family, even though you weren't able to live with them growing up. What's the significance of those family relationships in your life now?
Well, me and my biological mom, we actually have a great relationship right now. It has grown significantly within the past 3 years. Very proud of that. Our relationship has not been the best. Of course, I came into foster care due to things with my mom and her husband. So you can only imagine the trauma and growth that I've had to make to kind of put that to the side to still love her because she is my biological mom and I only have one of those. But I feel like it's very important and critical to keep young people in contact with their families. You know, yeah, we know that they came into care because they was unfit or unstable, whatever the case may be. But to be honest, giving that child that piece of them, you know what I'm saying, is really valuable. And it also will help them grow in a more positive way. Instead of you lying to them, keeping them away from their families, you're definitely giving yourself that challenge because that young person is going to try to get home. Regardless, they're going to try to get home. And I think that's what my caseworker had to realize too, which she did very fast, like within 6 months, she realized that. But a lot of caseworkers don't get that they don't catch that soon. And that's what makes the Casa's job extremely harder with the rebellion, the defiance, because they didn't have that immediately connect.
Yeah, and I know you, and you've shared with so many of us over the years about how you really tried to push everyone away. And so it's just so nice to see your village that includes your Casa family, but also your biological family and so many of your foster care friends and family and peers that you have. So we are so proud of you, and thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Thank you. I really appreciate this opportunity. I'm always willing to help. I love Casas. You know, I just got a call the other day in Region 1.
While Shemaine had a Casa volunteer and still does in her life, Caracole's experience was a little different and may be difficult for some to hear as she describes her time in foster care before being adopted at a young age. Please hear what Caracole has to share.
Caracole, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. Before we jump right in, you're in your final days of your sophomore year, and you have done so many amazing things this past year. What are you most proud of?
The thing that I'm most proud about is being able to go to a new school and branch out to make new friends.
Yeah, well, I know that being in the family that you're in allows you to take all kinds of risks that you probably never thought you could. So we'll spend just a few, we just have a few questions for you tonight to help us think about what that experience might be like and what we as adult supporters can do to support kids in foster care. So you and your brother were adopted out of foster care at a young age, and you now use this experience to advocate for change whenever you have the chance. Being familiar with Casa as you are, how might your experience have been different if you had a Casa volunteer?
Oh my goodness, I think my life would have been very different if I had a Casa volunteer. My brother and I were removed from my biological parents 7 times, so I lived in 7 different foster homes. If I had a Casa volunteer, I would have had someone to speak up about the neglect I was living through. A Casa volunteer making regular contact would have given the judge a true picture of how my parents' choices were affecting my life. They would have told the judge that at 6, I couldn't even talk or have a conversation, that my teeth were falling out, that we ate food off the floor, and that we never had running water. A Casa would have been able to help my caseworker fight for what I needed because they form relationships with the children and the parents and to be able to understand the child's situation so well. Every foster child deserves a Casa volunteer who can speak up for them.
Oh, well, Caricole, you have such a great understanding of what Casa volunteers do. And I know I've heard your story so many times, and every time I hear it, I'm just so amazed at what you have been able to accomplish and how you use that experience. You and your brother had a really, really strong bond when you were younger. Probably on some days now, being teenagers, you don't feel that so much. But you always stayed together while you were in foster care. In addition to the importance of those sibling connections, what else is important for adults to know about kids who must experience the foster care system?
Well, like any other foster kid, foster children want to be loved. They want friends in school and they want to fit in. So many children are taken into foster care because they are neglected. I learned that neglect is a tough thing to overcome. When you're neglected, you miss out on learning basic things in life. Foster children miss out on things that most people don't think about, like the right way to take your shirt off so I don't get stuck inside of it. I never learned how to tie my shoes. I didn't learn letters or numbers. I never brushed my teeth, so I had 12 root canals when I was 6. I was never taught how to use a fork. I never learned how to set boundaries so I could accept friends and adults mistreating me because I wanted so badly for them to love me. Living in foster care can make you feel unloved and unwanted. It makes you feel like you aren't safe, and sometimes you push people away. Most of all, foster children need someone who will not give up. They need someone who sees the good and focuses on that part of them. And they need someone to teach them. They need someone to help them catch up. They need someone who will force them to face their fears. They need an adult to love them every single day and never take that love away. Foster children are survivors, but they need someone to stand up for them and show them what love really is.
Well, Carol, I know you have a support system and a village that's wrapped around you, and you can see it in the young woman that you've become today. What have you learned about yourself through your advocacy work that you want to share, that why it's so important for you to speak out on behalf of foster and adoptive youth?
People always tell me that I don't look or sound like I was a foster kid. That always makes me smile because it gives me a chance to tell my story. Through my 3S project for foster children, I've learned that my story gives so much power. I've discovered that just by sharing the story of my life, that I can change the way people view and think about foster children. I've been so blessed to stand in front of people with tears in their eyes because they are so touched by my story because they've never heard details of how it truly feels to be in foster care. I'm so glad when people tell me I don't look like a foster kid, because when you think about it, all kids grow and change. I grew and changed, and foster kids grow and change, but they need to grow and change in positive ways. That's the biggest lesson that I've learned is this: I'm not a unique kid, or I'm really just like every other child in foster care. What makes me different is that I've had someone choose to step up and fight for me every single day. What makes me different is that I've had someone show me how to fight for myself. Now I use the power of my story to inspire people to step up and show love so foster kids can shine in their own life.
Well, Carol, I know your mom must be there wiping tears away from her eyes. I know I would be if I was your mom. I'm so in awe of what you do, and hope that you are as proud and inspired by what you have done and accomplished as we all are by you. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Thank you so much.
Carol and Shemaine's experiences represent the realities for hundreds and thousands of children whose circumstances bring uncertainty about what's to come. Our hope is that every child who must experience foster care has a Casa volunteer by their side, and their experiences will be made better because of the Casa's individualized attention and relentless advocacy to ensure appropriate and needed medication management, understanding developmental milestones, encouraging life skills and participation in independent living programs for older youth, understanding the importance of continued family relationships, and realizing that children in foster care are more than a file, they're a life. Thank you, Shemaine and Carol, for sharing your stories and helping others to understand the valuable importance of having a Casa volunteer assigned to children in foster care. So now we have one last spotlight for you tonight, courtesy of Forsyth County Casa. Watch as Casa volunteer Kimberly reunites with Savannah, a young woman for whom she advocated and often wondered if she made as much of an impact on Savannah as Savannah has so deeply made on her heart. Here are Kimberly and Savannah.
Okay. So I remember the very first time I saw you, you were just this little blonde wisp of a girl. You'd shaved half of your head, and you had the biggest brown eyes I'd ever seen. They just were so full of just sadness, and you told me how tired you were, but that you couldn't sleep, and that you really wanted to go home and you wanted to go get out of the hospital. And you told me you like Skittles,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You still like Skittles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it just makes me so happy to see you now, and 2 years later, and you got such a sparkle in those brown eyes, and it just makes me really happy to see that.
Yeah, I mean, I think from when we first met, I was in a really dark hole, and with everyone that came into my life, including you, it helped dig me out and put me on the right path I needed to go. And I started slowly getting better and working on all of my stuff that I needed to focus on, and focused on what was more important instead of dwelled on all of the stuff that I'd gone through, because that would have just put me deeper into where I didn't need to be. So after that, I just kind of felt like this is where I belonged, and I want to get out of here, I want to go home. And I think I was in there for 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years, and then finally you can go home. And that's just, I think other than Miss Sharman, you're the only other two I keep in contact with after I left.
That's really great.
You made a big impact on my life where a lot of people couldn't. You kind of sat down and you talked to me, and you'd understand where I came from, and you wouldn't cut me off. You just sit there and listen, and you wouldn't correct me if I was wrong. You wouldn't judge me for being myself, and if I cried, then you just sit there and talk to me and help me out. And not many people would have done that. Other people would have just said, you're fine, you're strong, you shouldn't worry about all of this stuff. But that's where a lot of people are wrong. Deep down, I'm not as strong as I show because of everything from the past. But nowadays, with everyone that is in my life right now, I've become a lot stronger and know where I need to be, and I'm who I want to be, and working on that from there with the strong village I have behind me.
I always enjoyed our time. I looked forward to seeing you as much as I could because you weren't too far from me, and it's just, I don't know, it's just such a, I just felt that connection with you from the very first time we met, because we had similar interests, and you always impressed me with your artistic abilities and your unique perspective on things, and watching you go from where you were when I first met you to getting an award for excellence in math in school. I just was so proud to be able to stand there and see you get that award, because I knew how hard you had to work to get there.
I remember every time you would visit, they normally wouldn't announce who would come and visit you today. It would kind of just be like, hey, your Casa's here. And Miss Kimberly would always laugh at me because I'd get so excited, and I was like, yes, the only person I actually wanted to see, other than my grandparents. But their visitation was off camp, off grounds, or I forgot what it was called. But and then we just sit there. I think there was one time we did a puzzle together while talking.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A sometimes, or
we did.
I think you like that caramel frappuccino from
McDonald's.
Yep,
I still do.
But it's so nice being able to go to dinner with you last week and just talk about stuff that's not related to difficult times, and talk about all the good things that have happened to you since, and doing great in school, and you've got a path forward. You've met somebody nice who loves you very much, and it was nice to see your grandparents too. They're doing great. They look great, and everybody just, it makes me so happy.
Yeah, I mean, other than a lot of the stuff that's been going on, the only thing that I really look forward to is spending time with people I really care about.
One of the things that always really stuck out to me too was your creative mind. The art projects that you did as a middle schooler, I could not ever do in my entire life. You are very talented in terms of your artistry, but also your singing, and you can write songs and play the guitar. You're just a very special person, Savannah, and I'm really happy you're in my life, and I'm glad you stayed there.
I'm not going anywhere. Just with me now.
Perfect.
Wow. Savannah and Kimberly, I and everyone who has seen your story is truly touched by your relationship. Kimberly, it is obvious to us that you definitely made an impact in Savannah's life. that you affirmed, the way that you affirmed and edified her was amazing. And it is to be recognized and commended. So thank you, Kimberly. The relationships and connections that we've seen tonight and that we witness daily through the eyes of volunteers and the children they serve are possible because of the kindness and generosity from donors and supporters like you. Tonight, we thank each of you for uplifting Casa and the state network and for encouraging your friends and family to learn more about Casa as well. We can't leave here this evening without acknowledging that this year was a year like no other. And through it all, Georgia Casa was present and ready to do what only they do best: bring action, care, and resources. Watch now to see how Georgia Casa responded to the needs of the Casa network.
Been a year for sure, and seeing it all together there, I couldn't be prouder and more inspired by the work of the Georgia Casa team, the local Casa affiliates, and each and every one of our volunteers. I also want to thank Dawn for serving as tonight's Mistress of Ceremonies and who represents so many advocates in our network who remain involved long after their formal roles come to an end. Dawn, you and so many others will always and forever be a part of this great big Casa family. Tonight, I not only reflect on the more than 30 years that Casa has been harnessing the dedication and strength of thousands of volunteers, but also our many supporters who have been right by our side. I'm so fortunate to be part of this network of deeply connected advocates and to lead Georgia Casa into its next phase. As we look to the future, Georgia Casa is committed to elevating the influence and impact of Casa advocacy and cultivating relationships at all levels so that Georgia Casa is recognized as valuable an asset in system improvements as Casa volunteers are in courtrooms all across Georgia. We are driven by the reliance and confidence placed with Casa advocacy earned by Casa volunteers from judges, stakeholders, elected officials, and so many others in our communities. As we embark on our long-range plan, we have clear vision and focus on the core principles with which Georgia Casa started of supporting local Casa affiliates, as well as to increase awareness for Casa. Explicit in our plan, as well as our mission, we are embracing the influential role that Georgia Casa contributes to advancements and improvements across the child welfare system and alongside advocates, policy, and state leaders. In the next 3 years, our goals are centered on providing access to a Casa volunteer for 14,000 children. This is 3/4 of children in foster care each year, bringing us closer to each and every child having a Casa volunteer when they must be removed from their homes. Tonight, there are more than 11,000 children who are living in foster care, 6,000 of whom have a Casa volunteer who are looking out for them and each day are their champions. You made this shared vision for the future possible. Please know how important your support and engagement are to Georgia Casa. As we begin to close out tonight, I'm honored to introduce to you one of our longtime board members, Bernadette Hartfield. A retired professor of law, Bernadette is no stranger to working with well-established nonprofits and initiatives that prioritize children and families in our state. Bernadette has been instrumental in Georgia Casa's achievements over the years. She is respected by our board and staff for her commitment and experience, having served in leadership positions during critical stages of organizational transition and growth. Her passion has never faded, and we are forever grateful for the time and expertise she has not just given to Georgia Casa, but our community at large. Here is Bernadette to share a few words about her support of Georgia Casa.
My name is Bernadette Hartfield, and I support Georgia Casa because Georgia Casa supports kids. Georgia Casa ensures that children who are in crisis have a representative who is able to advocate for their best interest, to ensure that their voices are heard. I support Georgia Casa because Georgia Casa is a nationally recognized organization, recognized for its excellence, for its leadership, for its innovation. I support Georgia Casa because it has been effective throughout the state of Georgia, regardless of where a child might live. I support Georgia Casa because Georgia Casa deserves to be supported.
Thank you, Bernadette. If on tonight this has been your first introduction to the Casa family, we welcome you and invite you to join us by investing your advocacy into our advocacy and Georgia Casa's vision for the future. For our supporters, thank you for your trust, generosity, and hope. And now, a few more of our longtime friends like Bernadette also share why they continue to support this important work.
My name is Lauren Hyatt, and I support Georgia Casa because I believe every child should have a permanent connection to family.
I'm Mandira, and I support Georgia Casa because every child deserves a safe, loving, and permanent home.
My name is Ayan Forrestal, and I support Casa because I know that the amount of love and energy that goes into supporting Casa directors, staff, and volunteers reflects the best interest advocacy supporting children in care across the state of Georgia.
I'm Chelsea DeWaters, Casa Director for Whitfield and Murray counties, and I support Georgia Casa because I believe so deeply in the vision of the Casa model, which to me is really about bringing the community into the work of child welfare and connecting members of my community who are at a particularly devastating moment in their lives with other members of my community and their community who really believe in taking care of our own. And the Georgia Casa Network is really just a larger picture of that same value and belief in taking care of our own, because Georgia Casa has created an environment for us as program directors and program staff where we know that we have a larger community around us at all times in this work. And we know that we will be supported and cared for and cheered on by that larger community all the time.
Hello everybody, I'm Dwayne Hathaway and I'm glad to be with you tonight. I'm a proud supporter of Georgia Casa. For over 30 years, Georgia Casa has provided leadership to the child advocacy community, as well as providing a positive impact on children in foster care throughout the state. Georgia Casa has great leadership. They have a supportive and engaged board. They have a highly skilled and long tenured staff. They have financial integrity, and they're laser focused on serving their mission. So yes, I'm a proud donor for Georgia Casa. Won't you join me in helping children throughout the state that are in foster care have a better future? Thank you.
My name is Bree West, president of the Junior League of Atlanta.
Hello, my name is Marie Hannon. I'm a former board member for the Junior League of Atlanta, and I sit on the Georgia Casa board of directors.
We support Georgia Casa because of all the work they do to help support all of the at-risk children in the state of Georgia.
We also support Casa because Casa gives children that are at risk a voice in the court system and a voice to tell their story. Please help us support Georgia Casa in the coming years, months, and days. These children need your help and support.
Hi, I'm Kathy Gannon. I support Georgia Casa, not just because I'm one of the founders, but because over the years, since 1988, that experience has shaped and influenced my life, just as their experiences shape and influence the lives of our many Casa volunteers and the children they serve, one child at a time. All over Georgia, our communities are better places because Casa is there. Thank you for your support.
Hello, my name is Sandy Day, and I currently serve on the board of directors for Casa. The reason I support Casa is because I believe children are our future, and many children do not live in a safe and nurturing environment. Casa provides the necessary support for these children who are otherwise neglected and may be abused. So in order to carry on our endeavors, please join me in supporting these efforts to make a positive impact in the lives of these children. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Vicki Helms, and I wholeheartedly support the Georgia Casa program. Anytime a child is removed from their home, not by any fault of their own, it's an extremely traumatic situation. As soon as a Casa volunteer is assigned to that child's case, that child instantly has a strong, powerful voice that can advocate for them in court at every hearing. The Casa volunteer gathers vital information that all of the judges need in order to be able to make a complete, informed, unbiased decision on what is the best interest of the child. Every child in the state of Georgia that comes into care should have a Casa volunteer. Thank you.
And there you have it. We've heard the perspective of our board chair, Casa volunteers, former youth in care, other Casa friends and supporters, and our very own Georgia Casa Executive Director, Jennifer King. I hope by now, from what you've seen and heard, you better understand and are committed to the impact Casa advocacy is to children in foster care in local communities throughout the state, as well as nationally. The impact of a Casa advocate assigned to a child gives the individualized attention they need to ensure all their needs and services are met physically, emotionally, and medically. But most importantly, advocacy from Casa ensures a child receives timely permanency, spending as less time as possible in foster care and more time in a permanent, supportive, nurturing, and loving home. Again, thank you to our sponsors of tonight's evening of appreciation, WinShape Homes, Georgia Power, Junior League of Atlanta, Care Solutions, and the Atlanta Alumni Chapter of Kappa Alpha Theta. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Again, I am Dawn Charleston Green, and I have been your mistress of ceremony on tonight, but it's been time well spent. Have a great night. And I have been your mistress of ceremony on tonight.